Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Facebook Live. Today is the 29th of September. Almost year 2021 is over. Hope everyone is having a wonderful day. And I'm here with our panel, a couple of members from our panel. Hopefully the others join shortly as well. So we have April, who is our resident psychic. She's been doing Reiki healing, hypnotherapy, quite a few modalities. Welcome, April. Good evening. Good to see you. And of course, our incredible Eileen, who's been here more than a year and a half that this has been running. Every week consistently here. We're grateful for her consistency. She's always here, keeping us streamlined. So Eileen, did you want to ask the question or read the question that I posted? This was a post on Facebook, right? Our group. So I wanted the panel to speak about it.
Sure.
Thank you.
Hold on a second. I want to make sure I'm going in the right order. I have a feeling that I don't have it all. Was it 2 parts?
Yeah, it starts with, hey guys.
Okay. I asked because the last section that I got is not finished. It's like,
okay, let me
but I can, do you want me just to start at the top?
Yes, please. Thank you.
No problem. So I'm having a huge problem with perfectionism and self-acceptance. I've tried every method possible that possibly exists out there various times. I found out that the only thing that works for me is absolute and total removal of the future. Being present doesn't work for me unless I realize that there is no such thing as tomorrow. How do I realize that there is nothing ahead? Eckhart once said that some people receive a death sentence of sorts when they are faced with sudden illness or something like that. Would be perfect for me if only I could experience such thing. But I also don't want to manifest something like and leave the planet too early. I'm a kid, not even 30 yet. The future is stealing my happiness, and I just want to get rid of it once and for all. Is there something I can do to remove whatever is ahead of me from my consciousness? Intellectually, I know that there is no such thing as the future, but my mind is trying to convince me that it exists and forces me to engage in self-improvement projects of sorts to finally complete its sense of self. Sorry, lost my place. I'm only truly happy when I derive my sense of self from the past and present as it works for a while, but then the mind comes back again and forces me to look ahead towards the future. My mind is constantly in past denial and salvation and future mode, and I'm trying to do the exact opposite. Past acknowledgement, future removal. So it's a constant battle between me and my mind. It's a struggle that is making me sick. I want to ask the universe to remove the future from me once and for all, but I don't want to manifest something radical such as sudden death. I want to live at least a couple of years more. I love life, but it's only fun for me when I feel I have nothing ahead of me. Any suggestions?
Awesome. Thank you, Eileen. So April, you want to get started? There are quite a few like deconstruction that all of us can do.
Yeah.
Of the different sections.
Yeah. So there is a couple different, there's several different little things in here. So one could argue that there is no such thing as the future, because we say that now is all there is. There's no such thing as the past or the future. But living here as a human, we have those concepts of the past. We have a past. We have those concepts that there is a future, that tomorrow I'm going to get up and I'm going to go to work. that's not where the focus should be. And it sounds like she gets stuck in the future. Being in the present doesn't work for me unless I realize there's no such thing as tomorrow. But it's all linked to the perfectionism and the self-acceptance. That I have to achieve something in order to be good enough. And first thing is, being a perfection, it's not possible. For the perfectionist, there is no such thing as perfection because you can't achieve it. I lived many, many years trying to be a perfectionist. And so we'll just take a house, for example. Like you clean your whole entire house. You work all day. You clean all of it. You will sit down and you will look over and you'll be like, oh, there's that one spot over there. There's that one corner I didn't clean. Because there is no perfectionism for the perfectionist. That's not something that's achievable. It's not achievable anyways, but especially for the perfectionist, it's not achievable. And what you have to do is you have to learn to change the conversation in the head. You have to learn to change what you're saying to yourself, because there's a conversation that's going on that's saying, this isn't enough. I haven't done enough. I have to do more. What will I do tomorrow? Will I be able to do that tomorrow? Am I going to be able to get that done tomorrow? And so it's more about the conversation that the person is having, and the self-acceptance goes along the same lines. So what I did was, instead of constantly pushing and pushing and pushing myself, I would do all the dishes, and then I would decide it would be time to clear out the fridge and wash all the plastic, like the Tupperware bowls. So for God's sakes, I already did all the dishes. And when you have a ton of kids, that's a lot of dishes, but it was just never enough. So what I started doing is literally saying to myself, that's enough. That's good enough. You've done enough. And that's one very effective way to start changing the issues of self-acceptance and to start taming the perfectionism. But she's got there's so many things in here. So
that's why I chose it, because there's so much deconstruction that can be done in one post.
So she has a fear of the future. Now, okay, so, and we've talked about this before. So what happens with the future is, if you look into like the linguistic programming, is the brain doesn't like open loops. Okay, it likes to close the loop. So if you ask the brain an open loop question that it can't answer, and it will never be able to answer because it's projected into the future, and the future is always unknown, it will run that loop around and around and around. And each time it runs around that loop or that track, it will create a new scenario. So it'll be, this one is my house is going to blow up. This one, my car is going to blow up. This one, the whole town's going to blow up. This one, the world's going to blow up. So that will not stop. That's where the problem of the future comes. It's not a problem that there is a future per se. The problem is the story you're attaching to the future. That's where the problem lies. And then also the attachment to whether you get anything accomplished or not. Because in essence, it doesn't matter if you get anything accomplished tomorrow or not. If they get done, they get done. If they don't get done, then you're still here. You're still okay. You have your arms, you have your legs, you're still alive. Life is going to continue to flow. So I can stop there for the moment and then we can go back at it because she's got so many sections in here.
Thank you so much, April. And who is to say we should not think of the future? Because the way Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about is, he is always saying, tune yourself into a new potential, right? And tuning yourself into new potential, you have to envision yourself, if you have an illness, the person without illness. If you have a sense of lack, a person that is believing in it, or knowing of infinite abundance. So who's saying don't think of the future? I think the definition, the way she or he is understanding what it is to be in the present moment is inaccurate. Is that the sense that you got, April?
Yeah, because of her, well, we're assuming it's a female, so maybe that's just the energy we're getting, but she is saying that sudden illness or death would be perfect for them, because then they could live without that anxiety, that anticipation of the future. That's the only way that they have figured out to escape that anxiety of the future. But when you practice acceptance, you learn to be in the flow of what is, you don't have anxiety over the future. When you are trying to control what's going to happen, that's where the anxiety of the future comes in. When you learn that you will be able to handle whatever happens, whatever comes, then you can be like Eckhart. He's just like, oh, do, whatever, la la la, because he doesn't have any expectations. He's removed all expectations. He's practicing only acceptance. Acceptance is the present moment. I am accepting that this is happening right now. I am accepting that my ear is itching right now. I'm accepting that the dog is sick. Like, I'm accepting all of it. And I've removed all the expectations. So she says, they say they've tried everything, but I'll have to look at it again. She says everything, the only thing that works for me is absolute total removal of the future. Being in the present doesn't work. Well, then you're not in the present, because the present is about acceptance. Because if you're in the present moment, you wouldn't have that anxiety, right? That's how right?
And it's not so much as you're in the present moment. It's more like, do you have the presence power? In this moment, is presence or consciousness arising within you, because that is what is going to dissolve the anxiety, right? I think that was his misunderstanding, where they say, what is the beginning of it? I've tried every method possible that possibly exists out there. Various times I've found that the only thing that works for me is absolute and total removal of the future. There is nothing like total removal of the future. Right?
Yeah. So it has to be the fact that for the future, again, is creating that open loop, which is, you could consider that another word for anxiety. It's because the mind is trying to have an answer to be calm and relax and know that they're safe, but they can't, because the future always carries an element of the unknown. It will never not carry that element. Even if you had something perfectly planned out, something is going to happen, because that's how life is. And it's being okay with that something happening. Nothing might happen. That will be okay too, but something might happen. Eileen just described a situation today where it was planned out, didn't happen. 9 minutes later, it happens. Oh, okay. You have to be in acceptance of that flow, or the rest of your day would have been off, because your whole schedule was shifted that 10 minutes, 15 minutes, that hour, right? That's what presence power is. So I think that you're right, that I'm not sure that they really understand the true presence power of acceptance.
Beautiful. Thank you, April. Eileen, did something arise for you while you were reading this huge, long excerpt?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Quite a few things, actually. Some of them April has touched on. The first thing that came up for me was that in reading through it, what I kept either hearing or feeling was that they had to get themselves somewhere they weren't. They had to get themselves to a point where the future doesn't exist, even though they know the future doesn't exist. So something that I like to tell even my students is that, yes, past and future don't exist. You know, past is gone. There's nothing we can do to get back there, which they seem to be okay with. But the future doesn't exist either, because this is where, like, I think the point is being missed. The future can't exist until it's the present. And so if we fully radically accept that we are here 100%, radically accept whatever comes, surrender to anything that happens, then we'll be in our present moment now and when it's the future. But it can't exist. It doesn't exist because it doesn't exist yet. We're not there. So that was the first thing that was just kind of kept coming up for me. And another thing was that part of, for me at least, with like meditation practice, and I think it kind of applies to life in general, not just meditation, but the whole thing that brings the shift and the growth and the change is that you're always bringing yourself back as soon as you're aware. So it's not that they're not going to have thoughts of future, or they're not going to have a worry thought or anxiety. It's that you bring yourself back to the present moment, that like presence practice of, oh, there it is again, bringing yourself back. And that bringing ourselves back, that being aware and being present, even if we slip, that there is like what strengthens us and strengthens our presence and awareness. And then it shifts over time. It's not something that's necessarily going to happen overnight. And I would celebrate what they're describing, like celebrate the fact that, oh, I'm aware of this and I need to get myself back to what's happening to me right this moment. Not having expectations, none of that. And being okay with the fact that we go through growth. Do that with my students also. We have to be okay with that.
So she says, how do I realize there is nothing ahead? We are not saying, I don't think Eckhart is saying, don't realize nothing is ahead, right?
Don't get yourself stuck there, perseverating on what is ahead. You need to live that moment here. I forget who says it, but someone says like the best way to, have whatever future is to create it. Like we're doing all of creation right here, right now in this present moment. Nothing will ever exist unless it's happens here, right now. And so 5 minutes from now, none of that will exist unless it's happening right in that present moment. And so that doesn't mean that you're never going to have a goal or plan a vacation or whatever. It's not saying that you're not going to have any planning. We're humans. There's going to be planning involved in some things. There's going to be goals involved in some things. But we need to radically accept our present moment always, regardless of what it brings, and not bring additional suffering to ourselves by having expectations and being reactive to things, especially things that don't exist. I can't tell you how many people will react to things and they haven't even happened yet.
And the reason why it hasn't happened is because it's just when we see the future, and this is something that Byron Katie does an extremely incredible job of. Can you see, like in this present moment, that there's a thought that says, like what April was saying, right? Something is going to happen to my house or something is going to happen to my car, but that is just a thought. So we have, even the future is a mental movie making. Can we see that? When we think those thoughts, it's just a thought that arises. And that's why Eckhart says, don't go into the future. What he's saying is, don't go into the mental movie of adding a narrative to
Yes.
what is happening, and say that what's going to happen to my car, what's going to happen to my city, what's going to happen to my country. Don't go into that mental movie making, depending on the circumstances. And then there was like this part here which says, there's nothing as the future, but my mind is trying to convince me that it exists and forces me to engage in self-improvement projects. So it's like they've taken the whole thing and twisted it and said, now I need to make this into a project, right? Self-improvement project, and finally complete its sense of self. And she actually she's aware that she derives her sense of self from the past, and the present at it works for a while, but then the mind comes back again and forces me to look ahead towards the future. So that's the pendulum, right? Between past, present, but all past, future, everything is a mental projection. So that's what they need to pay attention to. So
yeah, and I want to just share something that Lakshmi and Luis said, because sometimes, you know, people can say things and then someone else says it and it's like, oh wait, yeah, now I get it. So Lakshmi said, it's not the content arising in the present moment, but the space in which the present moment arises. So it's not so much as like what it's full of, but just being space. And Louis said, sometimes surrender means giving up trying to understand and become comfortable with not
knowing. Beautiful. Incredible insights. Thank you. Thank you, Eileen. Did anything else arise, April, from the description?
I was looking at the same section that you were looking at, where she says, the future is stealing my happiness and I just want to get rid of it once and for all. Is there something I can do to remove that from my head? Even though she knows that there's no such thing as a future. So, you know, as Eileen was saying, and you're not going to get rid of the future. Now, we can look at it through quantum theory, we can look at it through the spiritual lens, and we can say that the only moment you truly have is right now, because as like Eileen is trying to say, is, you know, she's explaining is that when you get to 5 minutes from now, it's now. And in 1 minute from now, it's now. Tomorrow is now. When you get to tomorrow, it's today. That is what we mean by there's no future, because when you get to tomorrow, it is today. Okay. So, but there is technically a future. Yes, there is tomorrow, right? Tomorrow you do have plans. You're going to school, or you're going to work, or you're going to go see your mom, or you're going to go see your girlfriend, or whatever. So I would eliminate the idea that I need to remove the future. It's not the future that you need to remove. It's the story attached to the future. It's the expectation that you have attached to the future. Because when we look down on this, it says, I derived my sense of self from the past. That tells me that if you listen to Eckhart's teachings, your sense of self is not based off of who you truly are. It is what you have done, what you have accomplished, or what you have. It's not your true essence. Your true essence is your spirit, your soul. Your past would be full of, oh, I went to work today and I unpacked 50 boxes and I stacked the shelves, or I got a college degree, or I, whatever I did, right? I cleaned the house. So also learning that your sense of self does not come from what you do. Your true sense of self comes from you being part of source, part of creator, having that soul, that spirit inside of you. And then she says, the interesting one here was where she said that her mind makes her, what does it say? Oh, right here. It says she derives her sense of self and then it works for a while. And my mind forces me to look again to the future. And basically, we are not here to not improve, right? Because she says it forces me to engage in self-improvement projects. We are here to improve. You don't have to improve, but we are here to grow. So I would also consider embracing that you're going to engage some sort of, I mean, Eileen just did a meditation course and you just did a course and I'm actually doing a training right now for my work. Like, you will engage in these behaviors. Energy always likes to flow. It never likes to be still. So that growing, that self-improvement, that will always happen. And you should want it to happen, because if it's not happening, then what? Your time is done. When we slow down, when we stop, that's usually we've stopped growing, we've stopped expanding, then you're nearing your time. So you want that self-improvement.
So there's a last portion of it where it says, it's a constant battle between me and my mind. It's a struggle that is making me sick. I want to ask the universe to remove the future from me once and for all, but I don't want to manifest something radical such as sudden death. I want to live at least a couple of years more. I love life. So it almost is like the mind is churning, right? And this is what Eckhart would call the resistance. This is the mental resistance, right? The mind saying, I'm going to be sick. I want to ask the universe to remove all the future. I don't want it to manifest into death. Isn't that resistance?
So there's a tremendous amount of resistance here, and it's the fear of the future making me sick. You know, they're tormented by the future, by what it sounds like, almost like they feel like they have this expectation, the self expectation, this perfectionism. They feel like they have to do all these things. You don't have to do any of it. You don't have to do any of it. You can just love yourself. You can just be okay with yourself, whether you accomplish one thing or nothing. So, yeah.
So what comes up for me is what Eckhart says, what you resist persists, what you fight strengthens. So because of the resistance, so that's what needs to be dissolved through presence power, right? The resistance, once it dissolves, then all this wanting the future to go away, that anxiety will go away. Perfect. Thank you so much, April. Beautiful. Eileen, any more input? And then I'll go to Kelly, because Kelly has joined. Kelly is our panel member who is a Qigong teacher. So Eileen, I'll go to you. You want to?
What I was going to add was what you just said, that what we resist persists. And so if it's that idea that they're trying to eliminate future, or however you want to word it, that getting rid of that anxiety. And so that resistance definitely is going to keep it eating at them.
Beautiful. Thank you. Welcome, Kelly. Did you see that huge long excerpt? So we've been discussing since the beginning of the slide, that huge long excerpt. If you want to give your opinion or advice and insights, thank you.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. What I see is a serious control issue. I need to control someone's reality through being stuck in the past and trying to project that again into the future to recreate. This is ego attachment. This kind of ego attachment is all about control, not wanting to get hurt. This person needs to look at how they deal with their feelings and how they actually look at the mechanics of how they judge themselves, because there's a lot of judgment that's coming through in what was written here. The fixation on the past and the future obviously is an indication that someone does not want to be emotionally present, does not want to deal with their choices that they've made, not want to accept them. You cannot get rid of the future. You cannot get rid of the past. The only thing that matters is what you are doing in the present moment. So the struggle that is making this person sick is basically their anxiety over their control. The tension that they're creating with their mind is affecting their body. And what they need to do is they need to develop something physical that will get them out of their heads. Develop a toolbox that will give them an ability to get out of their heads, out of their mind, you know, lose their mind a little bit, or chuck it out with the popcorn. I don't know. And to figure out methods, research methods, something that they're drawn to that will give them the ability to change gears when they recognize that they are stuck in their heads and stuck being caught in duality and that swing of extreme emotions. That's what duality is. Duality is not good and bad. That's a perceived perception of right and wrong. That's a conditioned perception of right and wrong. Duality is all about the extreme swing of emotions. And we need to understand, especially in this situation, that the extreme swing of emotions that are constantly being triggered, that are causing all this tension, are because this person is letting it happen. A person that is caught in this kind of tension that is causing them to be physically ill really needs to look at how they deal with their feelings and their emotions. And, you know, start with meditation, try yoga, go for a walk. Walking is awesome. Jumping rope is awesome. Getting on a bike is awesome. There are so many things that a person can do to get out of their head. So many things, like honestly, simply just going for a walk. And if you can't go out for a walk, I don't know, like if it's too hot outside or if it's too cold, walk up and down the stairs until your brain starts getting bored of it, and then do it some more, because that's the best time to do it. Is when your brain's getting bored, you know you're getting somewhere. So stopping and pulling away from the judgment of the past, the longing, the desire and despair to be in the past, and the despair that you're not, and the despair that you don't know what the future holds, and the desire to create something for yourself, but the attachment, the need to control, to make it like the past, is something that really needs to be addressed. And especially the feelings. So this is the other thing too, is like the feelings that are being hidden by this constant emotional swing back and forth between the past and the future really need to be addressed. You know, do a little fire ritual, write something from the past that was a substantial event that you haven't let go of, have a little fire, burn it. Fire is very, very cathartic, very, very cleansing. There's a reason why it's been used by culturists for thousands of years. It's very, very effective at triggering the mind to dissolve stuck feelings. So there's an awful lot here. And in terms of motivation, one of the big things here in terms of the future, creating something that is motivating. If this person does not have hobbies, they might want to go out and do so, because maybe what's going on is that the reason why there's so much tension is because they have not given themselves an outlet to express themselves in such a long time. That in and of itself is causing the tension and causing the desire and the despair about the past. So there's a lot to unpack here, but the baseline reality here is that discipline with emotional spaces has to be achieved somehow. Again, going for a walk. EMDR, eye movement dissolution response. Basically, a psychoanalyst got, this is something that's actually in a lot of the Qigong that I teach. It's something that I researched early on when I started doing Qigong. EMDR is basically looking left and right, up and down, and doing circles with the eyes and looking into the corners of the eyes and playing with the movement of the eyes to dissolve tension in the head. And I forget the psychologist's name, or this woman who discovered it, where she had just like that moment, she'd had a really emotional event, and she decided to go for a walk, and she realized that as she was looking left and right, as she was walking down the sidewalk, her body just immediately relaxed. And because she was trained, she noticed what was going on and she tracked it, and she's done experimentation, and now it's an actual therapy. So going for a walk and looking left and right, or just even sitting with your eyes closed, because if you do this enough, you'll actually become aware of the tension in your head, because of the muscles around your eyes will get tense. And if you even sit there with your eyes closed, you can look left and right as far as possible and hold it for a couple seconds, and then switch in looking in the other direction with your eyes closed, and it will actually help pull the tension out of your head. I'm just gonna pause and drop my little dime off there, and we can
Your 2 cents.
My 2 cents. Yeah, we can move on to the next question. Thank you for
Thank you.
Francine Shapiro is who it is. And what it does is it actually reduces the amygdala in the brain,
Yes.
the anxiety center in the brain. Like you
Yeah.
could call it the anxiety center. It does a lot more, but
Oh yeah, no,
movement,
the
what
is,
he's talking about.
yeah.
Yeah.
You bring up a great point, Kelly, because that's what Dr. Joe Dispenza also says, right? That our subconscious mind is actually our body. Our body is storing all that memory of the past. So you have to dislodge it somehow, whether you do Qigong, whether you do meditation, like this person has to take radical meditation, like maybe 2 hours. If you can dedicate a whole weekend to meditation or a whole weekend to Qigong, withdraw yourself from the universe, like withdraw yourself from the, what Dr. Joe Dispenza says is breaking the habit of being yourself, right? So withdraw your attention from the news, what's going on, Instagram, stop watching Facebook, stop watching, comparing yourself with other people. And it seems like a young person because they said they were under 30, right? So thank you. Thank you for that pointer. Beautiful. Good evening, Caesar. I see that you're driving, so you won't be able to read. There's a huge long passage that we are discussing. So I'll move to a shorter question. So this passage brings up Another question that somebody asked Eckhart Tolle, they asked him, why should we have this urge to awaken? And then during the awakening process, like trying to go through and develop presence power, they experience fear. So you want to answer that, Caesar? Why should we awaken?
Sure. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, why do we seek enlightenment or to awaken? I
Mhm.
think it's a natural instinct that we're all, that we possess. And as we begin and travel our journey of life, we get the perception that we have strayed a little off course. And the right course would be to gain enlightenment or awaken, so to speak. And once the realization is made, there is probably a great effort that is put forth in trying to do so. The fear would probably become evident at that point because I've been doing this for so long and I'm just not getting there. And this brings me to a quote from Eckhart Tolle when he told this story about oh God, what was it? Okay, there was the monk with the meat. Every piece of meat is the best piece of meat. He gave us. You get there by realizing you are already there. Stop seeking, and you will find. There's some last town sayings, but it's really that simple. And so, but my point is that the fear would probably kick in as a future thought of failure, perhaps. It doesn't allow you to be in the present moment. So I guess it would, come down to future thoughts causing the fear. For whatever reason, we know that the present moment doesn't allow that. So there's my 1 cent.
Thank you. We're getting a whole lot of change today. Thank you, Caesar. April, did you want to answer that question and any insights, additional insights? Thank you.
So two things. One is, again, everything is energy, and energy always likes to flow. It does not like to be stagnant. We are energy, and therefore we will always seek change. We'll always seek improvement of some sort. Now, there are people in this world that you could say that they're stuck, and granted, they're stuck. There are people that get stuck. But energy always likes to change and to move, and that is part of the enlightenment process. It's like Abraham Hicks says, we're on the leading edge here. We are expanding, forever expanding. Part of expansion is enlightenment. The other reason is it's healing. We have pains, we have suffered, we have you can call it the dark night of the soul. We have inner child work. And when you want to heal those pains, when you want to be happy, have peace, it automatically leads you to some sort of enlightenment. Now, for many, that manifests in different ways for many people, but that is where it leads. And the fear is, as Caesar was saying, fear of who am I going to become, but it's also part of the attachment of letting go who I was. Letting go of maybe that grandma who apparently I was informed that I worship the devil. I just can't even take that one, because of what I believe in. And it is not the Bible and is not God's word, which confuses me. But it's fear of that, of judgment. When I'm enlightened, you're going to bring about a whole new life, new network and energies of people. So I think the fear is both, but probably the fear mostly is of letting go of the past, letting go of those pains, those issues that have created your identity. We get attached to our identities of being the victim, of being the abused one, of being the angry one, of being, you know, my mom beat me, my dad did this. We get attached to those identities. You have to let all of those go if you're going to embrace enlightenment. So I think it's all about, but the bottom line is that we seek it because it is the route, it is the way to inner peace. That is why we seek it.
Beautiful. And would you say that would be, so it almost is like we were in the other realm, then that soul, what became the soul, said, I'm going to take birth in this form of whoever your parents were. I'm going to use those two parents, take birth, and learn these lessons to expand, like to infinity, right? Learn the lesson of that the divine is flowing through me, which I've forgotten.
Which
Right.
is the energy thing. And you know, for somebody perhaps like Kelly or whatnot, he's probably experienced this numerous times. And I actually had a different experience recently where I actually got to kind of see into the infinite. And I think it's something you have to actually experience, but it is literally infinite. It literally, it's like this moving, like infinite. And that's what we are. So there, it is an endless enlightenment journey.
Beautiful. Thank you, April. Eileen, do you want to say something about this? Why would we want to awaken? And then why do we experience fear during the awakening process?
I had something for the why do we awaken, and then I think it was April that said it, and then now it's completely left my head. It's like she said it and I was like, oh, that, and then I was like,
Is
forgot
it to
about it
heal?
already.
Was it to heal, Eileen?
No,
heal?
no. It was when you first.
Oh, the energy expansion.
Yeah, probably. I forget the wording, but whatever it is that you said, I was like, oh, well, that was basically it. So I'm done. And then now you're asking me, and I'm like, wait, I don't even remember what it was. I don't think I have anything to add. Yeah, now I'm thinking, I don't think I have anything to add. It'll probably come to me while Kelly's talking. Again.
And the fear is more like the ego, it's ego death, right? When awareness arises, it's ego death. So fear is ego creating fear because it's dying. Or our identification to whatever we were identified with, we're losing that identification. So our job on this earth is to lose all identification. Like what Dr. Joe Dispenza says, the nowhere, instead of being somewhere, be nowhere, it's be nothing, no time, no body. And then we are who we are in our essence. So thank you, Eileen. Kelly, you wanted to speak about this? Why would I want to awaken, and why is there fear arising in me?
Well, first of all, not everyone wants to awaken. Not everyone has it in their soul contract. I've met enough of those people in my life. I was married to one. So, you know, it's an interesting juxtaposition. But those of us who do feel the calling, who do feel the pull to awaken out of our illusions in our programming, will feel fear and experience fear for many different reasons. I really like what April had to say about the expansion and learning, because fear is just information. The way that I look at fear now, and having gone through the steps, I should, at some point, I really need to write down my process with fear, because it's a huge topic, but also very simple, because it is about the learning. We experience fear when our ego, and specifically our shadow, or the energy of our reptilian survival mechanisms, kick in to try and hijack our awakening experience and feed that energy back into supporting our ego programming. Now, that's, a bunch of fancy words. It basically says your ego wants to keep you in your box and keep you from understanding that you can knock down your walls and step out of your box whenever you actually decide to make that choice. There's a great movie called Office Space, where this cubicle worker gets hypnotized, and in the middle of being hypnotized by this hypnotherapist, the hypnotherapist has a heart attack and dies. Except the hypnotherapist is taking him through this meditation of being free and not having any emotional baggage or limits, and he isn't brought out. The therapist dies, and so the entire movie is about him going back to work and expressing himself. And at one point, there's such a beautifully symbolic moment in the movie where he takes a drill and unscrews the walls of his cubicle, and they all fall down. And he looks out the window, and there's big, massive windows that he's sitting beside. And he goes, "Wow, look at that view! I never knew it was there before. This is awesome!" Right? So, fear is, for me, a learning tool. It is something to use to understand when my programming, when my shadow, when defense mechanisms are trying to hijack, distract, obfuscate, hide, and conceal information from me. And this is especially true when awakening to new spaces in my heart, to new understandings of information that I have, where my ego, my shadow, will try to pull me out of alignment and pull me out of being present and distract me with something shiny. Hammy from the movie Over the Hedge always comes to mind. one of my favorite little animated movies, because it's just funny, and Hammy's just always the cliche of a squirrel, just totally distracted and all over the place. And that's what our egos and our shadows want. They want us completely distracted and all over the place, and not centered, not aligned, and not present. And anytime we actually pull ourselves inward more and more and more, the fear will come up to make us afraid of the new feeling of being present, of being emotionally connected with ourselves, opening up to source, opening up to our own information. Call them the Akashic records, source, creation, God's divine illumination, whatever you want to call it. It's all the same thing. And especially when you get into spaces where you can feel beyond the 3D reality, beyond the veil, as April alluded to, whenever I talk about the cosmic ocean, or I bring that up, that is exactly what I'm talking to, because it is like a vast, endless ocean of stars and lights of all colors. And when I think of source, or when I sort of shift my focus and let myself feel my connection to source, that's what immediately comes up. And the depth of that is something that is so far beyond the linear mental ego mind's ability to comprehend. It is something that can only be felt. And this is why being present, and why being, as my voice keeps changing, it is something that requires being present and being open to feeling, because the information can only be felt. That presence can only be felt and understood through feeling. And this is why it is so important to have a practice that actually allows you to be present emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, all together, all aligned together, because the fear that your shadow and your ego will throw at you to try and keep you from understanding that, yes, you can actually, that is something that you are actually feeling, and that you can actually connect to something that big, because that is something that you are a part of that. That is the one thing that your ego and your shadow will always fight tooth and nail with fear to keep you from discovering. My 2 cents.
Beautiful. Thank you, Kelly. And learning how to overcome that fear is the lesson.
Yes. Yeah, it's the eternal refinement, because with each level of information, each new space, your shadow, your ego will throw fear at you, and it'll never come at you the same way twice. Sometimes it'll feel like it and you'll be like, but it'll be like, I'm gonna go in the window over the kitchen sink and hide in the cupboard.
Beautiful. So the next question, again, I got it from one of Eileen has to leave. Thank you so much, Eileen. So grateful with all that went on today. Infinitely grateful that you're here. Okay, Caesar, so you get this question. This is again from a Q&A with Eckhart during School of Awakening. Somebody asked, if I look at the events of today and I don't do anything about it, then I feel like I'm spiritually bypassing. It's a spiritual bypass. So what should I do? What should I do about the events of today? Whatever is going on. What advice would you give a person that feels uneasy about the events that are happening today? Is Caesar on me?
Yes.
Thank you.
Real simple on this one. Acceptance. Don't give your attention to anything that doesn't feel good, because we know to be true, what you feed grows. And as April was saying, and we touch on this week in and week out, everything is energy. Your energy in this way is attention. It could be a thought, or it is a thought. Words, hand motions, it's all energy. So when you focus or give even a tiny bit of your attention, you're walking past the TV and they're telling you about all these miserable events taking place in the world today, and it just makes you sick to the stomach. You don't agree with who's doing it and how they're doing it, or some fashion, something to that degree. And I'm sure we've all been there at some point. However, it's a very quick understanding is you know, one has to realize and become aware of what's taking place. Why are we attracted to stuff like that? If it doesn't feel good, why do we give our attention to it? Why do we not force ourselves, but so anxiously run home from work, and then turn on the news to watch the bombs and missiles fly from the coast in New Afghanistan? Is there something pleasing about that? Why is it? But so, long story short, if you are not in agreement and emotional about things that are taking place, first and foremost, allow it to be. I'm sitting in a traffic jam. It's crazy out here. But nevertheless, acceptance is would be the ultimate answer. Acceptance of the isness of what is taking place that we have no control over. And there is very little that we do have control over. And so when things take place outside of our area, and they're not pleasing to the soul, I would say just do not give your attention to it. This, if you are feeling good leading up to getting some news that all this crazy stuff is still going on, and then you give your attention to it for a minute and a half. Oh, catching something somebody said, and that really makes them mad. What you are ultimately doing is changing the momentum from good to bad. And as a result, things will start to change. The things that show up will start to change. When you're vibing high vibing things come to you. Low vibing people, bounce right off you or go right through you. It just, you're not on the same frequency. We can't be a team here. So yeah, just give your attention to only things that make you feel good. Stop any hint of momentum, by giving your attention to something that doesn't make you feel good in that way. So, catch it early. Don't let it gain momentum, because the more you think about something or talk about it, we know that more momentum is created in that way, and it's much, much harder to stop. At some point, it consumes you. Like a thought only takes a split second to happen, and then we start, the conditioned mind starts playing a movie, and it attaches all the things that it could make to. Nevertheless, yep, acceptance, and just don't give your attention to anything that doesn't make you feel good.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Caesar. That's what Dr. Joe Dispenza says, right? When where attention goes, energy flows. That's what April has been saying too. And I like his other saying where neurons that fire together wire together. So if you're constantly thinking of that negative event, and if 7 billion of us are thinking of that negative event, we are just going to cause more and more negative events. Everything that is happening is a co-creation of all the humans that are here on Earth. So beautiful. And then I picturized when you were talking about momentum of thought, what Abraham Hicks says, right? Don't go, oh, I had this negative thought, and I pull it back. No, it already has the momentum. Realize that some of the things we already set into motion. What Caesar, pay attention to what Caesar is saying, even though he's driving. He said there is momentum. So if we already set things in motion by thinking a negative thought, looked at something on TV, we walked by a TV, looked at something on TV, we already set that negative momentum, and it will have its own end. It has to end. What does Abraham Hicks says? It's like a car on the top of the hill. At the top of the hill, when you just pushed it, you can stop it. But when it already is coming downhill, you have to let it go down all the way down. So realize that is the momentum that Caesar is talking about. Right, Caesar?
Absolutely, 100% yes. And I had trouble doing just that, for many years. And once I became aware of what was happening and how it was unfolding, as far as the momentum being created and gaining, speed or power, whatever it is, I'm able to stop things as quick as they happen now. And it's the same thing when, a pleasant and unpleasant situation happens in your life. You have the ability, if you want it, it's there for you. You have the ability to let something go just as quick as it came. So a situation may arise, it's uncomfortable. You can carry that on with the victim mentality thing again. Or, you can talk about it in a good way too, I guess, maybe to help spread awareness of whatever. But this is forgetting. Okay. I forgot. Yeah, Jerry Hicks was actually the master at that momentum thing. So,
Yes.
but it works. It works.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for that analogy.
Thank you.
April, did you want to say something about this? Am I spiritually bypassing, or what am I to do about the events?
So I think, Caesar's right in what he's saying. Now, spiritual bypassing is avoiding something. It's avoiding due to being spiritual. What I would frame it as is not spiritual bypassing, but making a choice. You're choosing to not engage in that type of mind frame, that type of energy. Now, I am aware of what's going on in the world, and I do keep track of what's going on at a very minimal level. I choose not to watch the news and other such things or people. One of my favorite things that I ran across in my awakening journey was Joel Osteen. And Joel Osteen had a talk where he was at a gym exercising, and on the TV in the gym was the Sports Illustrated bikini bathing suit thing, whatever it is. Well, for most men, that would be like amazing, right? And he went and he asked the owner to turn it off, or the manager. And the guy was like, dude, what's wrong with you? And he said, I don't want that garbage in my energy. I don't want that garbage in my mind. And when that moment, that's when I made the choice to stop watching the news. And that was years ago. So you can choose what you allow in and what you don't allow in. I don't think it's, if you choose to not engage, then it's not spiritual bypassing. Spiritual bypassing is just avoiding. I am aware of what's going on in the world, but the difference is, it's like what Caesar's saying. I'm not engaging in it, and I understand what's going on. I'm aware of what's going on, and that's as far as I take it. I don't dwell on it. I don't rethink it. I don't, think, oh my God, how am I going to live? What am I going to do? I accept what's going on, but I also know that, as we have talked, the world is going through a spiritual awakening at this time. And these events are big, and they're meant to be big because they are awakening so many people. And I also always keep in, so as far as what to do, I always keep in my mind that there's always a grander plan. There's always a purpose. There's a reason for all of it, and that all of it will work out, that I will be okay. And you can do that. You can choose to not, get on the phone. And I have one person who is just, telling people in a kind of an anxious way, oh, you better be careful, and you better go stock up on toilet paper, and you better go, you don't want to spread that fear. The other thing you can do is pray. You can engage in large group meditations, heart coherence for healing the world. You can do those kinds of things. Those are choices. Those are not spiritual bypassing. You are engaging in a spiritual manner. The heart coherence conferences, the world meditations, Reiki, sending Reiki to the world, all of those are things that you can do. So for me, it's more about a choice than it is spiritual bypassing.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, April. Work on our own brain heart coherence, right? So thank you. Kelly, you want to wrap it up? I think it's getting late. So
Spiritual bypassing.
if I look at the events right now and I don't do anything about it, am I spiritually bypassing? And if I'm not spiritually bypassing, what is my responsibility towards the events that are happening?
Okay, well, I looked up the term spiritual bypassing. It is a way of hiding behind spirituality or spiritual practices. It prevents people from acknowledging what they are feeling and distances them from both themselves and others. Some examples of spiritual bypassing: avoiding feelings of anger, feelings of detachment. So it's basically avoiding feelings, right? As April explained, it's not doing something, avoiding doing something. There's so this is a really interesting topic because we can get into sociology, we can just like open up that whole can of worms. There is a huge massive awakening that is going on the planet. This is what the ancients have been talking about for thousands and thousands of years, and this is sort of endgame for the current mass incarceration of our spirits on this planet by this paradigm of illusion that we've all been having to deal with. So it's not spiritual bypassing if you decide not to do anything, but that is also another form of disassociation, which spiritual bypassing is. If you choose to not do anything and just hide, then you're hiding. If you're choosing not to do something, not educate yourself and understand more than just mainstream media, then you are also hiding, and you are choosing not to educate yourself and to not actively participate in your life, and you are choosing to let the awakening and or your life just sort of run you over. Myself, I've been shadow banned on both Facebook and Instagram for posting some of the information that I have. So I guess I was doing something right. And this sort of goes back to our initial sort of start of my entry into tonight's ensemble of questions and stuff like that. And that goes to the duality, the swing of the pendulum, the emotional extremes that are being triggered in everybody, and how people are afraid of dealing with those emotional extremes and looking past how they're being triggered by what's going on right now. Some people are just here for the ride. Some people are here to fight. Some people are here to educate others. Some people are here to share love. Some people are here to share fear. And for those of us who are choosing to be awake, for those of us who are choosing to stand our ground for what is right, then it is very different than not doing anything. And I personally have nothing against anyone who chooses to do nothing, because I understand that sometimes that is the path for whoever that is, and people do not have in them the ability to do more. That's just the way that it is. Everyone's journey is different. The Great Awakening that's going on right now, both in front of the cameras and behind the cameras and behind the scenes, is going to change the world. It is changing the world. We've already seen it change the world for 2 years. And understanding the fear or the motivation or the love in your motivation to do something or to not do something is really what's important here too. It's not just get lost in, oh, am I being a bad person or am I being a good person? I am someone who would be out at every single protest if I could, because that's the kind of family I grew up in. And that's just me. I believe in actively participating as much as I can. I believe in supporting people with love and sharing love and treating people with love and kindness, no matter who they are, no matter what side of this awakening they are on, what side of fear and love they choose to be on. Kindness is my religion. And to me, it's just that simple. And having been someone who, when I was younger, who was very angry and very judgmental, I understand that space as well. And I understand how hard it can be for others to see beyond the fear and the anger and the judgment. And while it is sad that there is so much that is being hidden, so much that is not being addressed, and so much that is causing chaos and fear in the world, this is also the great learning with the Great Awakening. Because this is the moment when we are learning how to choose to see beyond the old rigid paradigm of reality that we've clung to so earnestly, so desperately, really, and to understand how much different things could be, how much better things could be. And I am very grateful for, the life that I have right now. And I'm very blessed. I'm very lucky to sort of be living in Canada in somewhat sane situation, even with the current restrictions that are not very sane or logical. And this is my experience. I'm talking from my perspective and sharing my opinion. And there are people out there are lawyers out there who are going to be doing their lawyer thing, and there are people who understand the law who will be fighting for what's right. And to sit back and not do nothing, that's a choice. To sit back and not do anything, yeah, maybe that's out of fear. Maybe the person's in a situation where they can't do anything. That's the other thing. A lot of people are choosing to do something, for which I applaud them. But again, I also love everyone who is here on this planet, because we're all participating in this huge global collective together, no matter what is going on or what is happening. We have all chosen to be here, and we are choosing to be present at this great time. And for a lot of people, this will bring up an incredible amount of fear. And this will be, a time in history where people will be able to choose whether or not they want to be in fear or be in love, and whether or not they want to be present with themselves and with others. And to me, that's what it really boils down to. If you are present with yourself and others, and you understand love, then you understand what the opposite and what is driven by fear and why. And again, to me, it's just that simple. It boils down to whether or not you're present and whether or not you're operating from fear or from love.
Bravo, that was awesome, Kelly.
Thank you, Kelly. Thank you for wrapping us up on that high note, Kelly. So I think Eckhart's response to this person was to cultivate their own garden. I think he used some kind of analogy, that something that April said, right? Work on your own coherence, work on your own heart coherence, because that is what is going to heal the world. Having that loving kindness that Kelly is talking about, no matter what, develop those elevated emotions of gratitude, loving kindness, compassion, right? Infinite gratitude. I know Louise and Lakshmi and Christina are out there. Mike Craig is out there. So all of them have been giving an incredible amount of insights. So eternally grateful to all of them, as well as all of you here. Summer was with us. George is here. And April, Kelly, and Caesar, and Eileen, of course, especially after a challenging day, that Eileen still made it. She's so consistent. I love her commitment. So cannot say thank you enough. Infinite gratitude and many blessings. Have a wonderful evening. I'll see you all next week. Bye. Good night. Much
Night.
love. Bye.